Hey everybody, I'm back. So we're back with, some new authors, new guests coming through. This is Black Lit in the Culture. And I'm so happy that we have Miss Stephanie Nicole Norris, Miss Taisha Ryan, Miss B Love, and Miss Millie. I do not want to butcher your last name. So I'm gonna say Millie. I'll just say Millie B. How's everybody doing? You can take yourselves off mute because I feel like y'all all left yourself on mute. Y'all left
I'm over
yourselves.
here talking. No one can hear me.
You guys, we can hear you. So, how y'all doing? And then, more importantly, how has your writing and creative process been like since you've been stuck in the house with the Patricia, aka the pandemic?
The Patricia. That is so funny because my husband's name is Patrick, and I'm definitely going to get on. Hey, this is going to be the household joke now. You must know. Patricia, that's a good one.
So, how Stephanie, you can start us off since you were, since you gave it to us. How has it been? How have you been able to keep your creative juices flowing during a time when it's just like all hell is literally breaking loose?
In 2020, I didn't. I kind of was stuck in watching the news and the breaking news and just imagining this virus getting closer and closer and closer. And
Mhm.
so most of 2020 was short stories for me.
Mhm.
I don't even know how I got those out because it was kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And then more news, more medical news in my
Mhm.
household, and it was just like, okay, this is what we're doing, okay. So 2020 was not good for me at all, and in 2021, I kind of got used to it a little bit, and I feel like that I noticed that cases were going down, especially when the vaccine rollout started to happen. Cases were going down, and it was like, okay, okay, we might be moving into a good place, and then damn, hey, come, Delta, and
Yo.
it's like, you kidding me, and now they're talking about now you're gonna need a, if you're vaccinated, or if you're getting vaccinated, now you're gonna need a booster shot, a third shot, and it's just like trying to keep it all together. Um,
Mhm.
Plus what you already may or may not have going on,
Mhm.
in your house or whatever the case may be. It's a lot.
Mhm.
It's definitely a lot.
Tired.
But writing has been a bit of an escape for me. Um,
Yeah.
so that's probably the thing that's kept me sane the most.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
see that.
that's
Asia.
yeah, that's real. No, 2020 was crazy. But I had to describe 2020 as like the time, but because everything was shut down, it like forced me to do like a lot of inner work. I got a lot of writing done in 2020. Like I was
Mhm.
really focused on my creativity. Like for some reason, my creative juices were flowing during that time. So I think the pandemic hasn't really affected that, thankfully, because writing really is like a way to release everything
Mhm.
for me emotionally. So 2020 was definitely that time I got a lot of writing done compared to other years for some reason. But it just forced me to sit down, do the inner work. That's really what I describe 2020 as, like the year of like inner work.
Mhm.
Everything was shut down. That's how I looked at it. But thankfully, yeah, the writing didn't get affected.
Miss B Love.
For me, I agree with her. Writing was definitely an escape from the craziness of what's been
Mhm.
going on. Definitely been a time of healing and transition. So for
Mhm.
me, writing was my way of not dealing with everything that's been going on. I don't think I published as much as I normally do because I had a lot of projects that were like personal.
Mhm.
But writing was definitely my escape. I don't think I would have been able to make it
Mhm.
through 2020 if I wasn't writing. So
Millie.
I think this year I realized that I shut down when I'm stressed.
Mhm.
2020 was extremely stressful, and I like because like writing is so mental that like
Mhm.
the mental isn't right, your writing isn't right, and so it was like
Yeah.
trying to write through that has been a learning experience, and I hope that it's made me a stronger writer.
Mhm. I can see that. So Black love and romance is everywhere on the internet, and then you come on Instagram and stuff, but then it's nowhere at the same time. Meaning it's in our films, but on the grand scale, it's not as present. Like, I can't just go out and see a billboard of like Black love and Black romance as easy as like one, two, three. So, how do you think Black romance authors are helping to change that? We can start with Taisha.
Yeah, I'm loving the landscape right now. I see it's like a flood of just like indie Black writers just just doing their best to change like the stereotype or the negative idea of what Black love is. I'm loving it. Is you see it, you know what I mean? And even platforms like this, you know what I mean? I have to thank you, Cherie, for putting this on, because I think it's so dope, like really shedding light on just Black indie writers. Yeah, I do see I do see an upflow of it, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, definitely.
Stephanie Nicole.
I think we're very loud.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're so loud that people are taking notice, and it won't be too much longer when they can avoid just Black authors, the readers, the impact that we have. Um, you know, I'm going to step outside of literary and say even when we had the what's the name of that movie? Wakanda. What's the name of the movie?
Black Panther.
Even when Black Panther premiered and it just the box office sales were crazy and people were surprised, and it's like, no, we take care of us. We show up for us, you know what I'm saying? And you won't be able to ignore that because we are loud and we do not care, if you feel some kind of way about it. So I'm excited about it. I love seeing it. I be telling my author pals all the time, like when I see an author real loud, I be in the background, loud as hell too, and they don't even know it. They have no clue that I be in the background screaming for real.
I love it. Be love.
I agree with Stephanie 100%. We are going through, I don't even want to call it a phase, but we're in a position where we're no longer allowing our creativity to be ignored. We've been given so much in so many industries to the point to where it's tiring to see Black voices be ignored for so long and unappreciated. So to see Black literature, especially Black indie authors providing that literature, finally get the credit that they deserve. It's exciting and overwhelming, and I'm glad we're not allowing ourselves to be ignored anymore. So,
Really,
one thing that I will say that I see a lot is that like when people do find us, they always like express that like this is the thing that they were missing, that they didn't know that they were missing. And I love seeing that because it's like those are the people that read us and they stay and they tell their friends. And so I think there's only like room to grow because every time people find us, they realize that this is a place that they want to be.
Yeah, and that's usually how it happens. Or they'll come to the book club and see us like, oh my God, I didn't know it's so many. I was just like, girl, they've been here, but I'm happy you're at least interested in it, piquing their interest. So Black love and even the romantic elements at times on social media, specifically Instagram, has been viewed, especially by celebrity couples, because we always put them on a pedestal and we go back and forth with their lives, as struggle love, right? So how do you think that Black romance is actually helping to change that? Meaning, for some context, when you go on Instagram and stuff, we're always fighting about something. One day is how much you're going to pay for the meal. The next day is how much should we split the mortgage and all this other stuff. And then it's just like, girl, like, what are we doing? So you pick up a Black romance book and it's just like boy meets girl. It gets a flow. It's way different from what you see on the internet. So how do you think the genre is actually helping to change that? Start with Be Love.
I think, unfortunately, our culture has gotten accustomed to not just struggle, but suffering, the of suffering, even back from slavery being the only kind of movies we feel like Black people could star in and see success in. So I understand that we're kind of conditioned to feel like we have to struggle and suffer with everything, even love. I think now Black authors are putting us in a position to be like, nah, but we deserve too. We deserve to live a life of luxury too. And I think that it's necessary and an honor to be able to write a book that some people feel like is unrealistic because you're showing the healthy love between a Black man and a Black woman. But then at the same time, there are people who read it and be like, well, this is the reality that I'm used to. And I'm happy that I can finally read something that showcases that. So I think it's necessary. And I think it's unfortunate, but I think we're doing an amazing part of showing that healthy Black love exists.
Yeah, I'm with that. Taisha?
Yeah, I'm nodding my head because that's so real, beloved. About like it exists, like it's out there, and it's okay to showcase that in our work. Like it's okay to reflect that. And yeah, like going back to what beloved was saying about like we've been conditioned, like that's all we've seen in the media, that's all we've seen, out there. And it's like, okay, it's okay to write about like Black women, Black men just loving each other without the trauma or the strife, what I mean? Like it's okay, like it exists, it's here, and it's okay to reflect that in our work. And I think it's such a special time because we could write, especially with this, because the indie, we could write exactly what we want to write. We could write what's exactly happening, and it's okay to acknowledge that Black love is here, and we can cherish that and celebrate that in our work. And we see it, we're doing that. So I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
In that position. Yeah.
Stephanie Nicole?
I just think that those great relationships that we write about just don't get enough attention in the media. People feed off of negative attention, unfortunately. So there are relationships out there where people are not, doing a whole bunch of craziness or whatever. But some people may consider that boring, but it's not, and it would really take for you to be in a relationship like that, or have been, or even tasted some of that before, to understand it and to know it. And, a lot of times readers will say, they'll be thankful, like, I'm holding out for this type of love, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's out there. It's just that this society is so used to quick. We want to meet somebody, and like, damn, yeah, we may fall in love on first glance, but we may not. We may have to build that up, not necessarily go through some things, but understand each other, know each other, make sure that we equally yoked and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, it's out there. People just, they tend to look over it.
Millie?
I think a lot of the time, like, people, they confuse like love stories forged in struggle with struggle love. And I think that some of the best love stories are the ones that are forged in struggle. But that's one. But like, I also love that, like, because like Black romance is so diverse, like with the kinds of stories that are told, that like we can see like good and bad love stories, but like, well, not bad love stories, but like what would be traditionally thought of as like not the best way to fall in love with someone, but like it still turns out beautiful in the end. And so yes, I think that a lot of like what's represented in media is kind of like negative when it comes to like Black people in relationships. But like at the same time, I think that like even the most negative stories do have an aspect of like two people falling in love at the end of the day, and it's still positive,
So with that being said, when writing a romance story, how do you manage the pace, right? Because the idea is that you're coming into somebody's world, and it's a guy and it's a girl. They each have their own backstories, and then they have to meet at one point. They have to hit it off. They got to have sex eventually. Like, if that's what's going on, they have to do these certain things. So how do you make sure that you're pacing as well, and that you're not rushing it, but also making sure that you're not losing the reader at the same time? So let's start with Stephanie.
It's progress. It's a not progress, a process for me. It just depends on whose story I'm telling and how they coming at me. You know what I'm saying? I've had stories that come at me just with so strong that I can sit at the computer and just write and it flows on its own. I have stories that I have to outline just to give me some direction. I know the characters, but not necessarily their story just yet. I have to really get into the writing process for them to just, bring themselves out to me. So, it's different. It really just depends on who's talking. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna make sure that mofo was flowing, okay? For real.
Taisha.
Facts. Yeah, it's intuitive for me. I don't go into a story thinking, okay, yeah, so like on the third page, I'm just having fall in love, or like the fifth chapter, I'm gonna have him fall in love. It really is intuitive. I really just allow the story to flow, the characters to flow. And I write what I like to read. So I am a fan of like slow burners. You see it progress. You see the sexual tension flowing to the point where you're just like, okay, just get together. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of stories I like. So I write like that. I've never been a fan of like, okay, they meet and then they just fall in love like that. Like I just like the process, But yeah, it's intuitive. Like I sense it. It just happens. If it's flowing, I'm gonna just write it. So it's like really innate for me to just put it together. But it's just a natural thing. I don't go in with a plan like that on how quickly they fall in love. It doesn't work for me like that.
B Love, you are over there cracking up. You got to let me know what's going on.
Because I always get not necessarily backlash, but readers know if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna make you fall in love fast. So the whole time y'all been talking about pacing, I'm what's a slow burn? I don't do that. It's mainly because I love love. That's my favorite part of a book. It doesn't matter what sub genre it is. I don't care about the drama. I love love. So I love making my characters fall in love. If that's on the first page, it's gonna be on the first page. But for me, learning to pace myself to make it seem realistic is what I try to focus on. So they might fall in love quickly, but they're going to go through some things to strengthen that love and still get to know each other throughout the book. So I don't have necessary structure or a pace to it because however it flows, it flows. But as long as it seems like it's realistic, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I get that. Millie?
I have like so like my favorite thing about like reading romance is like the journey to the relationship. Like I like the like little interactions and the sexual tension and all of that. And so like when I write, I often I find myself feeling like the story is finished once they're together. So like the entire book is really the journey to them having that like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this for a long term now. And then I'll just stop and like people get mad. They'll be like, okay, so where's part two? I'm like, no, I'm done. But like pacing for me has always been like they meet, they kind of start to like each other, and then as soon as they do, they confess it, they're done. And that's always just been my process.
Okay, so what does, and then this might be like a little bit turn for you guys when you actually are writing, because we just talked about pacing. So what does healing look like for you in Black romance when you're writing, and how far are you willing to deep dive and get into the character psyche to get there? Start with B Love.
For me, my healing is typically going to come in the form of my female character receiving her healing through self-love and the love of her partner. I didn't even realize that was something that readers began to notice and expect from me until they started talking about it in their reviews. So I take that very seriously because I know that there are some people who will never go to church, never go to a therapist, never talk to someone about the kind of issues that they're facing. And sometimes the movies that they watch and the books that they read are the only way they see themselves in someone else and find ways to heal and work on their issues. So my specific way of healing my characters is through self-love and the love of their partner. But any kind of way they can get that healing, whether it's through religion, therapy, friendship, family, whatever the case may be. I'm 100% for that because it's definitely necessary. And it's healing for me. I put some of myself in my characters, and when I'm going through situations in my life that I can't figure out, I figure it out through my characters. So it's a two-way thing, and it's definitely
yeah. Stephanie?
I tend to make the healing come from like both characters. So both of them are going through something, and one may stand out more than the other, but they both are going through something in the background outside of themselves. So I like to pretty much, there's something that she can there's something that she contributes that is a part of his healing process. And the same thing with him, with her. And that's my best way of bringing them together, because I want to show that really intense, like real love. You know what I'm saying? That's not just, I mean, we like the sex and everything, but you know, it ain't just about that. It's, they really need to connect. You know what I'm saying? Do you connect with me in my own personal struggle? Because we all have our own personal struggles.
Yeah.
So do you connect with me there, or are you just here because we just, you know, bobbing and weaving? What we doing? You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much, you know, how I like to show healing in my stories.
Millie?
I overdo it. I go as far as to like match up their zodiac signs. Like I can tell you that like certain characters are Leos and Sagittariuses, and certain characters are both Virgos, and I'm like, and it works because like I wouldn't have written the story if I had to write a Scorpio with Leo because they don't go together. So like I deep dive into like my background, and it slows me down, but like it's really fun, and it almost kind of feels like even when the story is done, I walked away with some friends because I made them so detailed that they're real.
I ain't think, girl, you the zodiac matching them. I never even thought about that. Taisha?
Yeah, this is my favorite part. It's one of my favorite parts of writing, like the healing part. Because I know what it's like to, you know, go through like some, I guess, inner demons. I'm sure a lot of us go through that too. So writing in itself is healing for me. So to create characters who find their own sense of healing is healing for me, you know. And to me, the healing part is when each character is able to just face themselves in the mirror, which could be the toughest thing, to look themselves in the mirror and face that demon that they've been running from the whole time. And mental health has always been like a running theme for all my books. At the core, I guess that might be like the social worker in me, but that really is like the core for me. So I make sure to like write around that. But yeah, like when they see themselves in the mirror and they're able to face themselves, however that may be, whether it be through maybe an argument or anything, you know, breaking up or just like facing each other. Yeah, that to me is like the healing part, facing yourself.
Yeah. So when writing intimate moments, how do you decide what works best for each character? And how do you make sure that it's not overly done, but placed in the right moment so that it showcases a character's vulnerability and tenderness? Same with the sex scenes. How do you ensure that you're not overdoing it or underdoing it? So it could be even like knowing that, okay, this character's thing, she always like to get her back rubbed, or when she cries, like she will hide her face and then he'll know, like, you know, those real intimate moments that show you the progression of a relationship. Like, how do you start strategically planning that, okay, this couple, this is going to be their thing and that's going to be their thing? I'll start with B Love.
It really depends on the character's development. It depends on their relationship and it depends on the genre. Typically, when I'm mapping out intimacy, whether it's sexual, physical, mental, whatever, it's heavily based on that couple in particular. So I won't say that I necessarily have a guide that I use over and over again for each couple. I just try to make sure that I have, depending on the word count, I'm very technical sometimes, but depending on the word count, I try to have anywhere from 3 to 5 scenes that show them having a different type of intimacy with themselves and their partner. So they'll have a scene where they're sexually intimate a lot, because I'm a little perv. Where they're doing some type of emotional intimacy, some type of mental thing. And I just try to make sure I cover all bases, but how it flows and when it happens depends on their individual character development.
Millie?
I lost my train of thought. Can I get the question again?
So basically, when writing intimate moments, how do you decide what works best for your each character, and how do you make sure that it's not overly done but placed in the right moments so that it showcases the character's vulnerability and tenderness? The same with the sex scenes. How do you ensure that you're not overdoing it or underdoing it, because it is romance?
I tend to underdo it until like it like hits my test reader and she's just like, I can't envision this at all because you didn't write enough. But I think that like I'm so uncomfortable with writing sex scenes. I'll admit that. Because like one, I'm pretty sure my mom reads them. And then like two, like I always feel like even though I know I'm never writing about myself, I know that people in my life who read those scenes are like, she did that. And so like that's one thing, like it holds me back where like I don't write these sex scenes to my fullest potential because I opened my big mouth and told real people that I wrote that. But but when I do write them, it's always really fun after they love each other. Right now I'm writing a book that like they don't love each other right now and they're going at it, and it's out of my comfort zone, but it's also really fun because it's like no strings attached. So it depends on the story, but like for my most intimate books, like I feel like the intimacy really comes from the parts where they're not sexual at all, and then when they are, it just makes it so much more satisfying.
Like that. Taisha?
Yes, I so agree. Yeah, it depends on the character's personality. Like I write some characters are just like they have a guard up. They don't, it takes a while for them to open up. And then other characters are they're just more open and candid. So it really depends on the character's personality. And like I always say, like it really just is intuitive. Like I just feel it when I feel it and it makes sense. That's when I'll put the intimacy in there. But yeah, making sure that touching, I touch all bases with the intimacy. The sexual part too is I used to actually cringe writing sex scenes, but I actually enjoy it more now as I've like written more. So I may not have like a lot of sex scenes in my stories, but I try to make it as detailed as possible where you feel like the highest point of intimacy between these characters. So I try to make like a curve between, so like the psychological intimacy or the emotional intimacy or the sexual intimacy, I make sure there's a peak for each layer. It's like, that's how I look at it. Like there's like a layer for each type of intimacy, and you see the process and the peak for each one. And whichever one comes first depends on the character. I hope that makes sense. But mathematical, it just like art, you just feel it. I feel like as writers, we have like that intuitive sense to know what makes sense in that story. And that's how it really works for me. I hope that makes sense. But that's really how I try to explain it. I hope that makes sense. But
it made sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Stephanie, girl, you better tell us something, because we just read a lot of your work and you was drafting it, okay? So I don't want to hear, I don't know, I just come up with, no, girl, you gonna have to come better than that. So I'm just giving you that warning before you even start talking.
I don't even know what you're talking about. No, for real. I'm just really extra.
Yes.
I know I'm extra
in a good way.
Whenever I write, I'm always like, girl, you are being real extra right now. But it's just, I don't know, it fills me up. It's just so it's so good. I can go so far as to say that without getting personal, that when you were having sex, I mean, you want it to be all of the things, you know what I'm saying? You want to feel all of the things that are good, of course. You want to feel all of the tingles and all of that good stuff. So, and I don't want to do it the same every time. So, so that's the reason why my scenes may get a little They may get a little wild. They do, but for the most part, I pretty much let the characters lead me. So, and sometimes, it's I already go in thinking, okay, we ain't writing more than this many sex scenes, okay. But then, we'll get in there, and then the character, they'll go at each other. I'm like, we're not supposed to be having sex right now. Like, what are we doing? And so it's kind of crazy because they'll do what they want to do. But I am on the extra side, so I guess I'm not afraid to say it. You got, according to what you're saying, you know it already.
Yeah, I do. It's a series that came out of books that I was just sitting up there like, well, what was going on here?
What series, girl? What series?
I'll say stiff. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just gonna put a word out there. We going, like, I was just sitting up there like, wow. The latest one, but each of the guys, we were in there a little bit heavy.
In my defense, okay. That is, it's erotic romance, so it's gonna be spicier than normal, but yeah. And this one that's coming out, it's worse. I hate to say it, but it is. But it's the situation. It's not my fault. It's literally not my fault.
Strip came out, then Strip came out. I was like, all right, she's trying to make us like go find some people outside on the block somewhere. Like, they've got us looking for people that don't even exist. You did your thing with that. So, all right, now you have your juices flowing, and you kind of explain how your process is. But what happens when your pen start moving slower than you would like it to move? I won't say writer's block, but I will say, how do you get re-inspired when you feel like, you know what, I'm just not feeling this direction anymore, and you have a deadline that you set for yourself? I'll start with Millie.
I wish you hadn't started with me with this question. But no, I think for me, when I have writer's block, and I do get writer's block a lot, one thing that always helps me is if I go back because like I think most of my writer's block comes from self-doubt, and like when I go back and I read something that I've already written, I'm like, if I did this before, I can do it again. And so sometimes just reading something that I've already written kind of makes me realize, okay, I probably need to continue to write this book.
Taisha?
Writer's block is the devil. It's the worst thing ever to plague the writing existence. I hate it so much. So when I go through it, I'm just like, no. But yeah, for me, I need to step away, and that's where I feel guilty, because it's like, okay, I know I should be writing, and then when I don't write, then I feel bad that I'm not writing. But then when I'm trying to force it, I can feel it being forced, and it just comes off the page, So for me, I need to step away. I need to read some books, some new books that may inspire me. I need to take a walk, something, listen to music, anything, watch movies. Movies really help me too. Anything creative, really just delving into art and creativity, like that helps me. And when the idea comes back up again, I'm like, okay, let me just, I take advantage of those moments where the writing is flowing. Because when I feel stuck, it's horrible. Like, you know what I mean? I know it happens, but it's the worst feeling. But I know, it's part of the process. But sometimes also forcing yourself to sit down to write also, it helps too. So it really depends. But for me, a lot of times I just need to step away, just step away and just hopefully, it comes back. I just get inspired and I'm just able to go back to the computer.
B-Love?
For me, I do one of two things, depending on how my deadline is looking, because I'm a very last minute author. If I can't afford to step away for too long, then I'll alternate the scenes that I'm working on. So if I'm stuck on chapter 10, I'm going to skip to chapter 13 or 14, and hopefully we'll be continuing to write. Whatever I'm stuck on will begin to flow. If I have some time, then it's heavy self-care and any type of art therapy, because the more at ease I am mentally and emotionally, the better the words are going to flow. And coloring, for some reason, I don't know what it is about coloring and doing puzzles that shifts something. So I either skip chapters or I rest and color, and that usually knocks it out.
Oh, that's good. I like coloring too. That's the low key one of those things. It's like, yeah, coloring is very like
It's therapeutic.
it mellows you out. I'm either coloring or watching like Criminal Minds or something. It's like a weird balance. Stephanie.
And it really depends. If it's a series story, then I might open up the book before and read something out of it to help kickstart me going, oh, okay, this is what I want to do with this story, or light candles, listen to music.
Mhm.
For the most part, it'll be me going back to read something else that I wrote, something that'll give me that kick that I need to get myself focused on the story that I'm about to dive into.
Yeah. So how do you guys even fall into like writing romance and because that's like you could have written anything. You could have written horror, you could have written self-help because we love you swivel in and out. So I'll start with you first. My question for you is what was the major decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna go from urban and start writing romance and then, even doing like self-help and motivational coaching and stuff like that. How did you guys figure out what was gonna like this was gonna be the genre that you were gonna like deep dive into and start moving forward with your writing careers? Bila?
Um, for me, it was the place that I was in my life when I first got published in 2015. I was going through a bad breakup and I couldn't do in real life what I wanted to do to that person. So I had to write about it. And it turned out to be urban romance.
Okay.
So with that, I began to heal myself. And then, like I said, with readers letting me know how therapeutic it was for them and how they were empowered and felt themselves healing through my work, I was like, okay, well, we're going to do this. And then the more that I healed, the more that I fell in love with love again. And it kind of just settled within me that that was what I wanted to do. So it was, I guess, just the natural life progression.
Yeah, I like that. Taisha?
I'm a sucker for love, so this stuff I just love to do it. I'm a mush, you know what I mean? Like I'm that one that's gonna to that watch. I love the romantic comedies. I love like the romance movies. Like I've always been into that. So even when I was younger and I was writing, I was just like living through my stories because I wasn't experiencing half of the stuff I was writing about when I was like 12, 13. But I got to escape through that. And it just stuck. It's what I love to read. Is I think love period is so powerful, and to be able to capture it in creativity and in fiction, I think is just wonderful because you can't escape love. Love is here, love is the world. So I sound really hippie-ish, but that's real though. But yeah, you can't escape that. So yeah, it's just something I love to do. And I can't see myself writing anything else, honestly. I'd be trying. I'd be thinking like I should write something else other than like love stories, but it's not. It literally would not work for me. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Millie?
I read lots of genres, but I can honestly say that like romance is the only genre that like ignites a physical response out of me. Like I get butterflies while I read some of these books. And I'm not saying that like I won't get like excited when I read like an action book or like a mystery, but like those books stick with me longer. Romance books stick with me longer. And so like those are the ones that like I definitely wanted to write when I started.
Yeah. I like that, butterflies. Stephanie?
Sucker for love here. A plus, like it's just, I don't know. Oh my God. To try to actually explain it, I've always been a sucker for love. My first series was actually an urban romance series, and it was crazy as hell. But then I was like, I want to write this romance. Like I had these characters in my head, and it was like, okay, let me see if I can write this, and if the people even like it. And this was before I even had the people. So I wrote it, and it seemed to go over pretty well, and I was like, I think they like it, So it was just like, okay, and I'm glad people did like it, because I have written other things before. I've written urban fantasy. I have a fairy tale retelling that I wrote, and it was crazy because there were spells and things like that in the story, and I was like, oh shit, because I'm the type of person. I'm the type of person that I will dream. I dream a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I would absolutely go to dream and be in Wonderland. Like, this is some bullshit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
you might be the new favorite person, Stephanie.
I'm saying, so it was just like romance for me is just like drinking water. It's refreshing. It's my thing, So
yeah. I like that. Yeah, you really might be my new, because the way you said it, I would explain it the same way.
It's the truth.
I'm trying to be like politically correct on this live, but I need the energy. Your energy is filling me up. So one thing a lot of artists don't talk about heavily, I think, is the business side of writing. Like, once you publish the book, that's probably like one step of 1,000 that you're going to take afterwards. So what is 3 things that you did right? Because I think a lot of people always say, "Well, I did this wrong when I first started out." But what did you do right that other authors and aspiring authors can take from you and say, "Yes, I did this right, so you do this right too"? I'll start with B Love, because you got like a whole empire over there.
This should be easy, but it's not. Reader engagement for number 1. Establishing a personal connection with my readers, because at the end of the day, no matter what I write, if they don't rock with it and rock with me, it's not going to matter at all. So reader engagement, genuine reader engagement, number 1. Number 2 would probably be learning as much as I possibly can about every part of the industry, from different kinds of people, but learning the difference between accepting advice from someone who is where I want to be and someone who's not. Because I think, Lo, why you asking me this question? A lot of newer authors kind of stumble when they begin to take advice from everyone in the industry. They're trying to do things like their favorite author does it, but their favorite author is not writing the kind of stuff that they write. They don't have the kind of platform that they are trying to have or have. So learning from the right people, I would say, was number 2. And number 3, I think, was accepting how different my style of writing is and not trying to conform to what's popular in certain genres. When you conform to what's popular, you don't put out authentic work, and it's not gonna get you the results you want. So I just accept it. I don't write specific urban, I don't write specific contemporary romance. So let me find what I do so that I can promote it and reach readers who enjoy it. So that was 3 very important things for me.
I'll go with Taisha. I can't hear you.
My bad. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, trusting the story. Really, really trusting the story and trusting where it can take you. Because I know, I really feel like writing could be like being in the dark and, trying to hope to see where this light will take you. I mean, like, you being in the dark with a flashlight, hoping it could take you somewhere. So really just trusting where the story is going to lead you. I know that really works for me. Writing uninhibited. Do not let the outside influences stop you. And I know I struggled with that when I first started. Just writing uninhibitedly, and really just being true to it, because it's going to show in the writing. So really just writing uninhibitedly, without any barriers. And the next one is really just never stopping, because, it could come with a lot of self-doubt. I know I struggle with a lot of self-doubt and just wanting to give up, but really just sticking with it. That really has helped me. Like, no matter what, just constantly just write a page if you could, write it a word a day if you need to, just like constantly sticking with it, period. Because if you know that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. So
that makes sense. Millie?
Definitely reader engagement. Like B Love said, I'm like known for harassing people who only want to give me one short compliment. They'll be like, "Oh, your book was really good." I'll be like, "Okay, let's talk about it." In their inbox, and so like I'll force these relationships, and I've made some pretty good friends with my readers because I do that. But also, just like from a marketing standpoint, like I do spend money on advertisements, and like in the beginning when I had no readers with my first series, I did think, I mean I still do think that like paying for those ads did do a lot for my ability to be discovered. And so like if anybody ever has a question about ads, because I know that like people don't talk about it a lot, but like I'm always open to share and like be transparent about how much I spend and how much like return I got from that. And like I think it really helps. I think if a lot of us used ads, we could see like, you know, so much return on our investment. But it just depends on like, you know, how well you do it. And like third, I wrote books that I wasn't scared of people not liking because I liked them. So by the time I put that book out, I was like, whatever happens, I know that I love this book. So if they don't love it, then it doesn't matter because I love it. And it helps with like, you know, the way that like when you get reviews that are not so nice and like how you feel about those, it kind of helps you with like just moving on and going to the next one because it's like, well, at the end of the day, I liked it. So it helps.
Stephanie.
So my mind went totally the opposite way, and I'm feeling like the eyeball out here, to be totally honest. 3 things that I did in business right. I read my contracts. So I've had opportunities to link with some publishers, and I went as far as reading contracts. These I'm not gonna go there. But so reading contracts is one of them.
Feel free to be as transparent as you want to be, because I feel like this is going to help. It's going to free a lot of people before they even go into something that they don't quite know yet, just because they're excited to be.
See, what happens is you're excited to be published. And so, especially when you're new. And so it's like, oh, wow, someone wants to publish my work. And then it's just like, sign on the dotted line. What do we do now? You know, type of thing. But I've always read my contracts. And that's part of the reason why I just never end up signing to anyone, because a lot of the contracts that I came across, they just weren't about much of anything. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like I read one, I had one where, you know, the contract stated that the publisher would receive 85% of my royalty. And I was just like, I don't think that they expected me to actually look over this. You know what I'm saying? When I pointed it out to them, they were like, oh no, this is an error, it's a mistake. You know, it's supposed to be the other way around. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me if you think that I believe you sent me this without knowing what was on this thing. So, you know, just, you know, if you're a new author, you trying and you want to be published, that's fine. You know, everybody can't indie publish, or everybody don't want to indie publish, and I get that. But read your contracts, because if they can take you, sometimes some people they will. That's one thing. And then copyright. I copyright all my work. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people think, well, once it's written, it's copywritten. That is true. But in the case that you need to prove it, that's not going to work. You're going to need proof, you know, and really the copyright isn't but about $40, and it's going to save your ass if somebody tries to come for your stuff. You know what I'm saying? So getting my copyrights and just doing research, all the research there is to be researched. Because let me tell you something right now, every book on Amazon, every how-to, whether it's in books, whether it's in, you know, your personal life, finances, whatever it is, there is a subject about it on a blog somewhere in the Google search engine. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, You need to research. You have to. You can't just leave it all up to chance. You can't just ask people and expect them to sit down and give you an hour worth of their time, especially if you ain't going to pay for it. Do your research. It's important on all topics.
That was that. You spoke a word right there. So one thing that I wanted to know is that I've always noticed, like in the Black literary community, there it's like a tribe, right? So it's tribe of readers you find, and it's like even other authors that you become cool with, and that you can ask advice to, and that you guys promote. And I know it's always an author out there like, yo, how can I get in on the inside of the club? Like I'm trying to figure out how to create my tribe of readers, how to create my tribe of like other authors, even if it's just one, to have that connection with, so that I won't feel so lonely. Because writing is a very isolated act, right? You're by yourself, and the people that you connect with, they're readers, but you can't see them. You don't go to like meet me downtown. I can't meet them. And then also even connecting with other authors, you might see them a couple times out there if you sign, but if you don't, largely your connection is starting from like strangers online. You're online dating these authors that become your friends, because again, unless you knew them prior, you didn't have any type of physical interaction with them. So how have you created those tribes, and what advice can you give to other authors who are really just like, yo, I feel like I got a dope book, but like they ain't hearing me right now? I'll start with B-Love.
I'm gonna answer as the author and a publisher, because as an author, I'm very shy. So I don't like to put myself out there to engage with people, because I have a fear of like being rejected. So all of the friendships that I've established come from me liking people's stuff, sharing people's stuff, and genuinely supporting them. And then the conversation would then shift to comments and whatnot. And once they start talking to me in comments, then I feel a little more comfortable sliding. But that's the biggest thing for me personally. I honestly just wait for people to start it with me, even though that's not always the right way to go or the healthiest way. But when I'm talking to authors, I tell them to be authentic and genuine with their engagement, and to put themselves in positions to be seen by the people that they want to be seen by. So going into readers groups and actually engaging, not just going in there to drop your promo links and all of that kind of stuff, but commenting on the readers' posts, other authors' posts, and connecting with people on a one-on-one level. And that typically works with authors as well, sharing each other's links, reading each other's stuff, reviewing each other's stuff. Hey, girl, I read your book, I like it, blah, 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 blah. That to me is what leads to a genuine engagement. Again, it's not something that I'm very good at, putting myself out there like that, but typically if a person feels like they're on your level and you guys have some things in common, y'all have the same vibe, any type of small engagement can lead to that conversation one-on-one.
Yeah. Millie?
Same. I'm also really shy. Like I have to be forced out of my shell. But once I'm out of my shell, I do tend to get like really annoying and outgoing. But same. Like usually I wait for people to come to me, and then once they've come, I don't let them leave. And so like it's more like I'll write a book and a reader will come and they'll be like, I liked it, and I'll be like, okay, so what are you doing this afternoon? And so like I'll make friends that way, and I'll make my tribe that way, and it's been working for me. I hope I don't have like a background reputation as like the stalker author, but like it's been working for me, like talking to the people who talk to me. And then as far as like making connections with other authors, like sometimes I'll get like super intimidated. Because like it's still even though I've been doing this for 3 years, I still feel really new. And so like when someone will come to me and they'll be like, I read your book and like I'm also an author and I like you, I'll be like, what? And so like like that happened with me last year with B-Love, and so like it was like really nice. But if it wasn't for people coming to me, I think I would be a loner. But like I'm trying to get out of my shell more as I write more books.
Got it. Taisha?
Yeah, y'all dropping some gems, because that's something I struggle with like crazy. Yeah, I definitely struggle with putting myself out there. It's like the writing process is the easy part, the creative process is the easy part. getting the book done is the easy part. It's like putting it out there into the world is like a disconnect for me. So that's something I'm like learning. And I know how important it is to like, you know, be engaged on social media. Social media is something I don't engage as much. So that's something I know it's a drawback. I'm just being real. But yeah, I do see how important it is to like be involved in the writers groups, like Facebook groups, social media period, you know, to get connected with the readers and the writers. And but every time like a reader comes to me and say, you know, I liked your work, like it means the world to me. You know, when they reach out personally, like it really makes you you remember why you do this. I know for me, it just like reminds me, okay, I'm doing what I need to do. But yeah, like I don't have much to say about the you know, putting the work down because I struggle with that. So I am learning in real time. So, but I'm listening. I'm loving what y'all ladies are saying because I'm taking, you know what I mean? Because I'm learning. So that's really what I have to say about that. But I'm learning.
Stephanie?
When it comes to readers, I'm on their ass. No. Read my book, damn it. No.
Yo, the sound bites from you alone that I could use in everyday life. Okay.
I'm on their ass, man. I ain't scared to talk to y'all. But no, for real, because you know if they love a good book, I feel like I have a good book. Then let's talk about it.
Let's connect, okay.
But you know, when it comes to authors, you know, I'm not gonna just reach out right away unless I want something specific, unless I feel like, you know, because this is the thing when I'm very like business minded, and this just comes from me. I started writing in 2010. And so in 2010, there wasn't much of a, or I wasn't, you know, I didn't know of this community. Let's put it like that. So it's just like, so I was a loner for a long time. But, you know, now with all of the authors here, I don't, you know, most of the time, I hope that they don't feel a kind of way if I reach out because, you know, if I do, it's because I really genuinely want something. I don't want to waste your time. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, when it comes to just, you know, trying to do some good networking, you know, I reach out, and if you accepting to that, then let's do the damn thing. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it. But you know, if you're not, then you're not. I mean, you know,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I definitely, and especially at like events, I miss in-person events like a mofo because they're just everything, the atmosphere, the readers, the authors. And it's like, y'all can't avoid me at these events, okay? You know what I'm saying? You can't. I'm coming. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. And I know just for any new authors who are having problems trying to connect and make friends or whatever, this isn't necessarily it's hard to make author friendships type of thing. As an adult, it's not as easy to make friends as an adult, period. You know, when it comes to just, you know, getting to know someone, filling them out or whatever, you know, trying to see if you guys connect, if you have anything in common. So, you know, it's whatever. Hey, if you need to come to me, you can, because I'm with it.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. So for those of like for readers who have never, like they might be on here for one author or two authors and they might not be acquainted with the other author. So tell me 3 things that people will get when they read your work, and also what book should they start with? I'll start with Stephanie.
Oh my God, what book? Okay, so 3 things you'll get reading my stories. 1, orgasms. No.
What are we gonna do with you? Like I was like, we gotta put you somewhere. Like we gotta, like, this can't just be where you're at. We need this on a daily. Like, where's the podcast? Where's the Like,
this is why you should put me on live. This is why I don't do radio interviews. Like, I did a radio interview one time with Kim K, and I was live like this, and I was like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be on here. This is the reason why.
You actually are. You have a personality for it.
It's best I write these stories and y'all get these stories because it's kind of crazy over here. It's kind of crazy, but it's the truth. So I mean, I'm gonna say a smile, because if you know, even if you ain't feeling down, if you're not feeling anything, if you get into my books, you're gonna feel a lot. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna connect with the characters. You may feel like some of the girlfriends remind you of your girlfriends or best friends. Oh my God, I got a sister like that. You know what I'm saying? So you'll just get a genuine good time reading my stories. You can find them at StephanieNicoleNorris.com. Let me plug that in there. Shameful plug.
Shame. I mean, today is Black in the Office Day. There's no shame this time. It's no shame with this. You're supposed to plug it.
Okay. So yeah.
So what book would you tell them to start with? Like if they had because y'all got more than one, like people might get a little intimidated.
Oh my God. I'll say if you're looking for swoon-worthy reads, you probably want to start either with my In the Heart of a Valentine series or my Falling for a Rose. If you're looking for something a little bit more hardcore-ish, you might want to go with my Beautiful Assassin series.
Okay. All right, Taisha. Unmute.
I should get used to this because Zoom.
We've been zoomed out.
If you read my book, you're gonna get raw, uncut. I don't hold back with what I write. So I put what I put out there. So it's gonna be real, raw, uncut work. You're also gonna get the feels, like emotions. I'm gonna make you feel emotions. I write hoping that my readers feel like every emotion on the palette. So I want to make you feel intensely. So if you're not really ready for that, you probably won't be, in the mood for my book, because that's what I do. I like to, put the feelings on 100. Another thing is just sexual tension, love, just love, love in writing, love in writing. That's all I could really say. Just love is what you'll get. Because that's always at the core of my stories. So it's just love to the 1000% is what you'll get with my writing. So the book that you probably want to start with is Ashes. I feel like Ashes and just captures all of that. Takes you through all the emotions, and you really, you go through the ride of complex young woman trying to find herself. So I would start with Ashes if you had to start with one.
Yeah. Millie?
I think that what you get from my books, love, of course, but something a little more controversial. Higher standards, I hope. I hope that you read this book and you're like, all the men in my life need to treat me like this. But if you want to start with a book of mine, I recommend the Collide series. It was my first, and it like most of my books now tend to like call back to that one anyway. So it's my favorite, and it's always a really good place to start.
And Miss B Love.
I would say you're going to see some form of healing through love. You're going to get either a life lesson or some type of spiritual gem. And you're also going to get a woman that you can relate to in some sense, and a man that is going to drive you crazy. And for what to start with, my readers would probably say Coffee with the Side of You. But I would say Love's Battleground, just because it shows what I feel like is my lane, which is that urban, spiritual, contemporary, poetic type of vibe. So Coffee with the Side of You / Love's Battleground.
Got it. And I'm gonna take a few questions. We over time, but we good. So we have Brandy. She said, "What book of yours would you like to be made into a movie?" We'll start with Stephanie.
I'll tell you what book of mine the readers probably want to be made into the movie, and that's probably No Holds Barred.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go with No Holds Barred.
Okay, Millie.
Probably the Clyde series again because it's probably like some of my most. It's really made for TV kind of writing. So like that's one, and also like I fell in love with Kane when I wrote him. So like if I could get casting director to find him for me, that would be great.
Taisha.
I would say Brown Silk. When I was reading it, when I wrote it and read it, I was like, damn, no, I really want this to be a movie. And it takes you to the 70s. And I've just been in love with that time period, like the culture, the music, everything. So I already have like a soundtrack in my head and like who I would want to play it. You know what I mean? So if I could make that book into a movie, I'll be at peace. So
Be Love.
I would say give me something I can feel. It was my first real like traditional romance novel, and I feel like I can see that one for sure as a movie.
Got it. Another question we have from Sean. For all authors, what have you learned as a Black indie author about dispelling stereotypes about Black characters in the book industry? We'll start with Millie.
I think that writing multi-dimensional characters kind of rids you of any chance of writing anything that's stereotypical, because even if you do write a character that is what is considered to be stereotypical, if you give them dimensions and you humanize them, because I think so many stereotypes are born out of dehumanizing people. Like you take away their humanity and you make them a caricature. And when you make a character someone who feels real, even if they do embody some of those things that might be considered stereotypes, it allows people to see them as human beings as well. And so like I'm not trying to dispel stereotypes. I'm trying to humanize even the people. I'm trying to humanize what people would consider stereotypes.
I like that. Taisha?
stereotypes are tiring. All right, they're tiring. And yeah, my intention every time I write is to write with every character like the different facets of the Black man, the different facets of the Black woman. We are complex. We have different faces. We are not one thing. We are not a character, quote unquote. We are not cliche. Like we are real people with real perspectives, real colors, different colors. So that was always my intention to show that in my stories because I am that, and all the people I know are like that have different colors. So showing that in my work has always been important. So yeah, stereotypes are they're boring, they're cliche. So there's more to that.
Be Love.
I think to a certain extent, stereotypes are expected, especially when it comes down to certain genres. As an example, urban. If you don't do what's expected or the typical stereotype, your book may not do as well. It doesn't matter how well it's written, how great you are, how large your platform is. There are certain things that they have come to expect within certain genres. Personally, my aim is to show healthy love. If I do show a stereotype, is to show that there's something better or to try to offer a different perspective. But just in all honesty, stereotypes are expected and you got to do the best you can with what you got, make it as individual as you can, show the different facets to it, but it's expected, unfortunately.
Yeah. Stephanie?
Like Be Love, I like to write stories about healthy relationships. And unfortunately, people take stereotypes, they take the word and they kind of toss it around. It's like, but there are real people like this though. And these people still deserve love. I mean, I don't. There's no reason to really be mad about it, to be angry about it, or this is just a typical stereotype. But this type of person is real, though. You know what I'm saying? It just may not be the story for you, but this person still lives in someone today, and today you just happen to get their story. So I'm not all too worried about people, talking about stereotypes and all that. I write the characters, how they come to me. I do like healthy relationships. I do try to put those in the forefront more, because people are automatically expecting you as a Black author to write something, that's what they consider not, not romance, or that's not, this is, almost kind of a throw up on the track type of thing. But that's just not the case. So, really it's more their problem. It ain't mine. So.
And this is our last question from Pretty in Pink. What gave you guys the push / confidence to release your first book? I'll start with Be Love.
Number one, I wanted to have something that was mine that couldn't be taken away. And number two, I had a point to prove. I felt like I couldn't rely on anything else in that moment but what I was creating. And I wanted, unfortunately, this isn't the best way to be, but I wanted someone to give validation to what I knew was real and right. So I just had a point to prove. That was all the confidence I needed.
I like that. Taisha?
It was scary as hell to put my first book out. It's not easy. It was not easy because I was bearing, like, when you write, you're bearing your soul, really. Like, you putting your soul out into the world. What gave me the push? Just the passion for writing, like the passion to get my work out there what gave me the push. It was very nerve-wracking the first time that I put my book. I was still nerve-wracking, but it definitely was very nerve-wracking to publish for the first time and put the book out there. But I just think that the characters would not let me die. would not die. The voices would not die unless I put it out. And I just felt deeply like, all right, I'm just hoping that at least one person would be touched by this, at least. And if I just touch one person, then I've done my job. Honestly, I'm not looking for a whole bunch of people to love my book. If I just touch one person, then I know I've done my job. So yeah, it was really just the passion.
Like that. Millie?
I put my first book out when I was in my senior year of college. And I had just decided, Mom, I'm not going to medical school. So like I had to prove that like, what I wanted to do instead.
That's a story in itself.
Like
Mom, I'm not going to medical school. Like that's deep. Like
and so she's a doctor, but she ran like having sex. I'm like, no, it's gonna work out. And so like that first book was put out just to kind of prove to my mom, like this is a thing that I can do, and this is a thing that can support me if like, you just give it time. And I'm still trying to prove that, but like at the same time, like it's been working enough for her to kind of like start to have faith in me. And even though she can't brag, I'm a doctor, she does brag, but like I'm a writer, so it's been fun.
Yeah, I like that. I could imagine your mother like, yeah, I'm gonna have me a doctor, and it's just like, no, Mom, not going to medical school. Stephanie?
I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at night. I got to a point where, I was seeing these people. I was seeing their story, and I was like, I am losing my mind or something. Like, even going to work every day. And I was real heavy on audiobooks at the time because, I worked in the clerical field. And so that was my thing. I would listen to audiobooks and, but at the same time, I had this one story and these people and this relationship and it was driving me insane. So I was like, what am I going to do about this? And it was a real live light bulb moment for me. Like, why don't you just write it down, And so I did that. It took me 9 months to write my first book. I can't even imagine taking that long now. Like 9 months, that's half your life. No,
not half your life.
For real though. But that's what happened. I wrote it down, and it was like it triggered. It started something clearly. I wrote it down, and that was it.
Wow. But thank you guys, ladies, so much. I keep saying guys. Thank you, ladies, so much. This was a great chat. This is a great discussion. The comments were like lighting up. And one thing I'll say is that your writing is like changing the atmosphere. I think, like I said, you guys do it in isolation, so you don't really see like the impact that it has until you're like with other readers. But like I always say, Black liberation comes in many forms. It could come in a form. It doesn't have to just be a protest. It doesn't have to just be like, putting up a sign or something like that. It can just be like changing how Black people see themselves and view themselves and know that they're so much more than whatever their circumstance is, whether it's environmental, whether it's mental, whether it's for self-esteem or even in their relationship. So I think with Black romance, you guys are really helping to liberate Black people. And I think that's so dope. So thank you so much. And we're going to stop here. And that's it. This is great. We're still celebrating Black Indie Authors Day all day. So use the hashtag. And thank you, Millie, Stephanie, Nicole, Taisha, and Be Love. This is great. Y'all can take yourselves on mute. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
so much.
This was good. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Appreciate this. Bye.
Bye.